he was not allowed in the meeting this morning.
We're live.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our fourth live Ask Us Anything session. My name is Agnes Block. I'm one of the recruiters here in Vancouver, Canada. Joining me are my colleagues, Max from Boston, Vic and Serena from the Bay Area, and we have a very special guest today, Amir Shahindoost, Software Development Manager from Newport Beach. So thanks everyone for joining. We're really excited to just have a casual conversation with you today if you haven't been to these before, answering some of your questions that you've either submitted online previously, or you can of course ask us anything live today during the session. So feel free to type your questions in the chat and we will definitely try to get to those as we go along. So let's get started, and I'm going to put our special guest, Amir, on the spot today with our first question. So, Amir, tell us about yourself and the industry cloud initiative you're involved in.
Hello, and thank you, Agnes, for introduction. Yes, I'm part of the SAP S/4HANA Consumer Industry Cloud, which is a new business unit in SAP. And our focus is on guiding our customers towards evolving their industry-centric business models with new processes, tools, and business services that will align them with new market trends in the industry cloud. Our first mission is to start providing services to delight our customers by providing automation for the manual processes that they are going through in a daily basis, and it's a pain point for them, and relieving those pains from them. The first one of which is providing an intelligent trade claims management service, which our customers have said that if we automate this, it's going to save them millions of dollars annually. And that's how we're very excited about these services we are providing to customers, and our go live and production will be soon in November, which we are very excited about.
Thank you. And Amir, it's always a pleasure when somebody from SAP Engineering joins us. It's and engages with us in this amazing conversation that we talk everything everything related to recruiting. And I have, like Agnes mentioned, we curate a lot of questions from our users, and we have the next question, which is, if called for an interview with a recruiter, how can I best prepare to exhibit a full range of my experience? And I'm pretty sure one of my colleagues will be more than excited to jump on this opportunity to explain.
Yeah, that'll be me, Vic. I can jump on this for sure. So where I think about with the interview process for, any sort of role that you're taking on, I come at it from, an outline perspective. I think it's best to kind of see, take a look at the job description again, see what the pain points are that the team's looking for, and then kind of figure out from your side how you can explain in your background how you fit that mold. So I think, coming at it with an outline, trying to get some sort of ideas on paper is always a good thing. You don't have to read it off the paper, but having an idea of if you want to steer the conversation a specific way and really kind of explain where you're coming from and how your background aligns to the job at hand, I think is always something to be very mindful of. And obviously you're not going to always get the chance to speak about your entire background, but if you steer the conversation your way and in a polite way, of course, but steer it in the right way for you to kind of really show your stuff, I think you'll be in a good spot to do so.
Okay. Sounds yeah. I think I kind of Agnes. So what's your take on it? I know you've been we just heard a North America, U.S. perspective. How things are in Canada?
I would say very similar thoughts to Max there. basically having, the skills on the resume. So I don't really have anything else to add there, Max. I think you've covered it all. Very similar there.
Sounds good. And so, do you have something to add to this? I can see your face. You're just waiting to go.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I agree with Max, and I don't really think that it's a country specific thing. I think it just is exactly how he described. I think that it really, there's best practices depending on where you are and where you go, but I think in this case, Max really kind of nailed it on the head in regards to, how that goes.
Good for a question out of the gate, huh?
Yeah.
All in alignment.
So,
you never see that, so that's good.
So we have another interesting one, and it seems to be I think resonating kind of a trend that we all are being seeing in the for a little while is folks like to they are like they've been in engineering for a while, but now they think they're at a place where in their career where they want to make that switch from development engineering to product management, right? But I think the bigger question always remains that how can you position your resume in a way that people kind of start looking at your value that you can add as a product manager, and not just you remain always seen as an engineer. So
yeah. I'll jump in, Vic, because thoughts are coming in right now as you're talking. I think, skills acquired from any role, so let's just say development, are very transferable to other areas. So I think having the skills you acquired this far kind of on top of your resume, or even looking at potentially rewriting your resume to a skills-based resume instead of your kind of traditional job experience resume might be the key here. A skills-based resume is more focused on highlighting experience and skills that you've had from all facets of your life, and eliminating kind of the focus on the previous positions with the job titles that we're kind of used to with the traditional resumes. So for example, let's just say as a developer, you might need to work with cross-functional teams and understand maybe a roadmap. So let's say that these are also skills you need for the product manager role. Let's focus on those skills and abilities in your resume as a skill set. And that would kind of give the recruiter some idea around what skills you would bring to the new role. There's a lot of resources online that you can check out for examples, but as a recruiter, I would be more looking at the skills if somebody was kind of going from one area to another versus just like your job title as a developer. So that might be one idea. I don't know if anyone has any examples, other examples.
I think summaries are a really good place to kind of highlight, I mean, it's not always clear. And especially if you have a background in one thing and you're applying to other jobs, it's not always clear to the person viewing. So I think that this is one case where a summary is to your advantage. You could say, yes, I do have a background in this, but I have experience in this, and this is where I'd love to go. So that you can help communicate that out to anybody who's looking to help kind of fill in those gaps.
Amir, we have an expert here. So Amir, what's your take on it?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with both Agnes and Serena on that, and specifically on adding the skills that bridges development to product management, which are, one is customer focus. Show that as a developer, you've always been looking to deliver for the customer. You wanted to, and you worked towards that goal, and show that how well you communicated and collaborated with the product management in clarifying requirements and refining those requirements shoulder to shoulder with the product manager, attending customer meetings to get the requirements. This shows that you were not just in your office, on your computer, typing code, writing code, but you went above and beyond your job responsibility into caring for the customer, and show that you understand and you can handle product side of the things as well.
Thank you. And Amit, don't go anywhere yet. We have the next question for you as well. So what are the, I know you've been in a people manager role for a bit, and I think one question that everybody keeps, like, one question that keeps coming at different times, different stages of interviewing is, what are the best, the top three qualities besides the technical skills a software development managers are looking for in the right candidate?
Yeah, that's a great question. Basically, besides the technical questions that hiring managers and other interviewers ask candidates in the interviews, they look for some cultural fit. They look for some, work habit that candidates are going to show during the interview. And there are, many factors that they look into, but throughout my past experiences, three of them have shown, I mean, the topmost three that have come up in almost any interview. And every company, one way or another, one form or another, emphasize on it are customer success, uh, delivery, and ownership. Related to customer success, companies might call it different things. For example, SAP calls it ensure customer success. Other companies might call it customer for life or customer obsession. What this means is they're going to ask you questions to see if, in your role, how close are you to the customer? How do you care for the customer's needs? How do you formalize your delivery to cater for the customer? So questions that you should prepare yourself for is, come up with examples that you can talk during the interview, so to show that you had a case that you went above and beyond to meet the need of a customer, or give an example that, when you got a feedback from customer, what did you do with that feedback? How did you use that feedback to make your product better, to make your development better, to make your development habit and work better? Or even they might ask you, give me an example of a time when you pushed back on a customer's request. Sometimes, there are requests that we might think that it's not really the right thing to do. And we just have to show how well we communicate and we collaborate with the customer to change their mind for the better. So that's about the customer. The number two is delivery. Of course, software development is about delivery. I mean, you can write the perfect code and you can be a great developer, but if you don't deliver, then it doesn't mean anything. So you're going to be asked a lot of questions about delivery. For example, you will be asked to give examples on a project that you had to deliver in a tight schedule, or example of a project that, on the other side, that you didn't make the deadline. They want to see both how you handle success and how you handle failure. So it is very important to show that you have examples that you can come up with during the interview that show you've been good at delivery products in the right quality, with the right quality, and in timely manner. And the third one, I would say one of the most important qualities is ownership. Of course, you have to show that you're dependable and you follow through, you take ownership of the task, and you go beyond your immediate tasks, beyond your immediate team, and you think about the whole organization. And again, go back to number one, you think about the customers. And people that have good ownership skill, they never say, this is not my job. And they, again, go above and beyond their current responsibilities. And you, again, should have some examples to show that you have done some improvement. You made some improvement in the processes outside of your team. You don't sacrifice the long-term values for short-term success. And again, questions might be to give them an example of an initiative that you took that impacted the whole company and the customers and benefited those, and also, give them a case, or they might ask you to give them a case that you saw a colleague, a teammate was struggling, and how did you step in and help? Because again, you need to show the ownership. You took the ownership of the task. So in all these responses, make sure that you formulate your response into something we call STAR: situation, task, action, result. Given what the situation was, what the task was, what did you do, and then what was the result?
Thank you. Amir, appreciate that insight. I'm pretty sure, like, we're seeing some comments coming in. Everybody's excited. Like, it's we are excited. Like, when somebody like you comes on our show and kind of gives the insights that sometimes us being talking to hundreds and thousands of candidates probably can't, give that much of insight into it. And I see Agnes is awfully smiling today. Agnes, we know that you are going to take some time off, and you're gonna be leaving us to do this AMA by yourself for a little while. So let's put you on a spot. Like, how's the mood?
I'm feeling very good. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sad to not be part of this for a few months, but I'll be back.
It sounds like a plan. Let's move on to our next question. And this is our, we have just as a refresh, we have two of the SAP's early talent experts on this call. So what should early graduates do to stand out for their next internships? Right. So that's a question that I've been seeing like coming again and again. So off to you guys.
Maybe I'll start and Serena can jump in as well. I think the big thing for me is what I always tell people is just get involved as much as you can, whether it's within your the company and the internship you're doing, or maybe you haven't done an internship and you're still at a university. I think that's important to kind of ask yourself, how can I stand out from the person sitting next to me who's maybe doing the same degree and taking the same courses as me? So that can be things like, leading the school newspaper, or maybe at SAP, you're an intern community lead. Whatever it is, even being part of a team, doing a project, something where you can have extracurricular activities and opportunities under your belt. And those then lead to networking. And at SAP, we also provide our interns who are in current positions with networking opportunities throughout their internship. So things like coffee corners, lunch and learns, mentorship programs, hackathons, all sorts of different social events virtually right now, of course, and even workshops. So I get involved in things like helping people with resumes and LinkedIn profiles and so forth. And I think that's important for networking, as well as getting that stuff sort of on your resume to differentiate yourself from the person sitting next to you. Serena, what are your thoughts?
That's, I mean, it's a question we get all the time. I mean, even from a resume perspective, it seems like even universities have standard templates that students are, restricted to follow, or, I swear to God, like I look at something and I'm like, I swear to God, I just saw this resume, but what I realized is that the only thing that was different was the name. So I think to me, it's more of knowing that you're an independent individual, whether you're in school or in the workplace. And so I think that's something to keep in mind, even at a university level, when I really kind of think about this, because if all you're doing is following your friends around, and taking the same classes and doing the same thing, you're just going to look like all the rest of your friends. So if you get the chance to kind of branch off and make new friends or try new things, I would definitely recommend that, because it's going to allow you to put things on your resume and experience things. It's going to set you apart. It's also kind of that getting out of your comfort zone, and that also comes into kind of taking internships and making the most of those, and even kind of branches into a corporate world. Obviously we have our tight-knit communities and groups that we prefer and love hanging out with, but in order to grow, we need to kind of branch out and go past that. So I would say even at a university level, I would encourage that, because it's going to allow you to stand out and not just be a duplicate in the process.
Thank you. So, uh, moving on to another question that kind of making a trend, and so what's more attractive, right? When we're looking at like a resume, or when we're trying to post a position, is it a master's degree or continued earning of certificates? And I think this has been a common question that's been asked for a while now.
I'd love to get a mirror's take on this one too, but I mean, to me, this is a little tricky. I know that most managers prefer a degree over no degree, but whether you need to continue into a master's, I feel is definitely a mixed experience. So, I mean, technically on the non-tech side, if you are going to go maybe into an MBA and that's where you want to go, that could be extremely beneficial to you. If you're on the development side and you change interest or want to kind of, I've also seen people go into their masters to also do like MBAs or management style of things, or also new industry things that could also be beneficial to you. I think it's also a conscious thing that not everybody has the money or the time to go back to their masters, or if they do, they can't just go and do it right away. So I think you kind of have to weigh what's best for you, and I think what you're going to get out of it. What I can tell you is if you're also going to your back for your master's because you're afraid to get into the workforce, that's a different question to ask yourself, because I've seen a lot of students go and just live in school and never come out, whether it's going back for masters or PhDs. But Amir, I'd love to get your question on this as a manager, because I know that we always seem to have a different view on this than managers do. So I'd love to get your side of this.
Definitely. Yeah, everything you said is correct and right. I actually prefer working experience over both of them, masters. So if, for example, someone has, 4 years of experience and, someone, a master's, definitely, I'm looking to see how they can perform in the questions that I asked them, and would prefer if they were both, to be honest, if they were both at the same level, I would still prefer to go with the one that has more experience than the master. About the certificates, there are a lot of schools that give you certificate because they want to charge you money. So you have to be careful which certificate if certificates are from, trusted standards, like, for example, you have OWASP security certificate. That's a very, credible certificate that I would definitely look at. If you are a CISSP, again, that's a certified security professional. That's a good certificate as well. But I see a lot of like PMPs, for example, project management professional and things like that, that I think I would prefer to see more experience or an MBA rather than a PMP certificate. So that would be my preference. Other managers might think differently, but I would prefer the experience much over, papers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, some certificates, it feels like they just have a paragraph listed versus, maybe focusing on the ones that are really applicable. whether it's Cisco certified for certain jobs. I've actually looked for some certificates you actually have to renew. And so sometimes it's like you get it once, but then it's like you claim you have it, but it kind of expired. So, I mean, it's a little messy, but I think I definitely agree with you where it's like eventually work experience trumps a lot of stuff, including certificates and schooling. But if you're gonna do it, I mean, if you want to go out there and learn new things, great. But if it could also benefit the role that you're in or looking for, that's even better from that side. So love that.
And that's exactly what I was just going to add is that perhaps if you do get a job after you get your degree and you want to do your master's, you could get some work experience, and your employer might have an educational program fund to help you get that master's, and you can do that in the evenings sometimes if you have time. So, and that could be related to your job and really be a good impact and addition to your team if your manager allows. So I know SAP has an education program as well. So something to look into one day.
Love that.
Thank you, thank you. I think I think this question turned out to be better than I expected. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think so. It's funny, like Amir said. I mean, I've had managers that are, if you're looking for a project manager, you need a PMP, and it's the bottom line there. And I've had some that don't, really necessarily lock onto that as much. I think with the CISSP as well, as Amir mentioned there, we've seen that a ton with the security hiring that we've been doing, and I think some have it just to tick a box, and some really utilize it and can kind of really use their experience to kind of sell themselves in the role. And I think it's in my experience, I think, from at least from an SAP perspective, I think it does vary definitely, but coming on board, using your experience and kind of carving your own niche to figure out maybe if you spend time here, and we've heard it before with I think Serena, you've mentioned it in the past, you can have multiple careers at SAP, which you can. I mean, you can find yourself coming on board in one role, and then you find yourself kind of carving your niche down the road, down the road a couple of years of working here. So if you come on board with, say, a bachelor's degree or some experience or a certificate, find yourself having some interest in a different team or a different aspect of the business, and then wanting to go back to get your master's in a different aspect of what degree program you'd be taking on,
Thanks.
it might be best just to come on board with that. So
Yeah,
Or you can
that
be
makes.
like Vic, who decided that he didn't want to be an engineer anymore and joined the team on HR.
there you
Yeah, I
go.
know, right? Right. I was like, yeah, that was an interesting one. So we'll probably talk about this one of these days. So, and first thing, we kind of really exciting right now, and something interesting is that we have somebody that asked us a question about SAP in Saudi Arabia, which is first and foremost, like we are pretty excited that somebody that far off is still tuning in. But unfortunately, at this point, we probably won't be able to answer that. But I'll suggest reach out to one of us on LinkedIn with your question, and we'll make sure that we get somebody who can help you either from here in North America or can answer your question. We'll find somebody down in UAE if that's needed. And so since we are talking about a lot of skill sets, we are talking about people wanted to move from engineering to product management, vice versa. I have another question that came up, and I think it's an interesting one. One of our So the question is, I have extensive experience on driving and leading teams. Is that the skill that SAP is looking, or just technical expertise? So I think from my perspective, we are always looking for both, right? If you have actually three, right? So it's like, do you have technical expertise? Yes, we are looking for you. Do you have leading and management experience? We're looking for you. And if you have the combination of both, yes, we're gonna chase you. So that's what's your take on it?
Well, if you have both experience, that means you're coming in at a higher level, of course. I mean, if you have just the technical skills and they're really good, you come in at one level. But then the more skills you have in other diversified fields, such as leading, then you become a senior developers, for example, when you show and you demonstrate that you've been able to drive and lead other people, then of course you will come in at a higher level. So definitely we are looking for both, as Vikram mentioned, for both. If you have both the skills, definitely we are after you. Yeah.
Sounds good. What's your Sarita? What's your take on it? I know you've been lately. You've been pretty involved in hiring. I think both, right? Like experts as well as somebody who need experience with leading teams. What's
Yeah,
your take on it?
I mean, I feel like there's obviously positives to someone who's earlier in their career as well as someone who's later in their career. They both bring kind of a balance, and I know that a lot of companies value that as well as the teams, including SAP. It doesn't just benefit somebody to have all seniors and experts on their team. I think it comes down to the fact that it comes down to how that company views you. Some companies do just want you to come in and kind of just do the role you were hired to do. Some companies really do appreciate when you do have a breadth of skills and have the ability to kind of just manage and lead, whether you actually own that role or not, and be a mentor or be a coach or whatever it is. So I think there's a lot of positives to that. I think it just depends on how that company views you and how you might fit in, and understanding that even if you're at a company that doesn't, you could still maybe find ways to gain those skills, whether it's internally or cross training or externally, so that when you do get the chance to be in a place like that you actually can thrive. But I think it really just depends at the end of the day, the company and that team. And hopefully you'll get the chance to actually experience that, but I just know it's not always the case. Sometimes you're just hired to do what you're hired to do.
Yeah. Thank you. And we discussed, or I should say that we talked about it. Agnes taking a little bit break from our AMA for and to replace her and say hi to us, Heather has joined us. She is from our Waterloo team, in our team in Waterloo, Canada. So, and Heather will be doing the next AMA with us, but we decided it's gonna be a great idea for her to join us and be part of the conversation. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Vic. I'm excited to join in September. These AMAs have been some really good discussions happening, some really good questions. So I'm really looking forward to continuing that dialogue.
And I know there's a question that I know Max wanted to, Max, you saw one of the questions from our viewers that was pretty interesting. Let's just take that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Heather, if you want to jump in on this too, if you have some idea there too, now we have the intro done, we can definitely bring some color to it too. But yeah, the question that I saw, I have more than 10 years experience in development on SAP, and I am struggling to even land an interview for SAP roles. What's your advice? So I'm going to take this, not knowing your background, not knowing the situation, but thinking that say if it's SAP ABAP experience, something that's been around for quite a bit, seeing that you've worked in security protocol for ABAP or worked on security of ABAP. I'm just taking this from what I've seen recently working on security projects here. Some of the roles there's going to be parallels there. Some of the roles there's not going to be parallels, just because you have experience with security on a module of SAP. It may not be what the team's looking for at the moment. I think a lot of the security engineering roles that we're looking for as of right now are more so, focused on, global security kind of, Splunk experience is huge right now for us. So I would say if you're finding yourself having a difficulty in getting any sort of interview from, if you have focus on a specific module, if you need to branch out and try to figure out, hey, if it's a roadblock for you, if you need to kind of figure out where that next step in your career is going to be, I would suggest to maybe see what you can do to parallel and gain more experience there. If you're not, an ABAP guy, if it's a different sort of experience, maybe it might just be a situation of tailoring your resume to the job at hand and figuring out where you can kind of bring out what you've done. If you've developed on an SAP module for quite a few years, and maybe you're looking to kind of break into product management. Maybe you've done some of the sort of roles that would be, or somewhat of the experience that you have may lend to maybe moving that direction. By all means, that might be a good thing. But just because we're SAP doesn't mean that unfortunately that there's going to be a fit for everybody who has specific experience on a specific role. I would just keep an eye out there, see what may be out there for an application for yourself, and if it's not this role or not the role that you think it's going to be, maybe there's going to be one that's going to come down that might have better experience for what you're looking for, or what your experience lends to.
I think to add to what Max is saying is that sometimes it has nothing to do with you. Sometimes it has to do with timing. And I mean, I tell this to people, whether they're early talents or professionals, some things are just really out of your control. So sometimes it's all about timing and when you're available versus when the company needs people. Maybe you're a more senior level and they're only looking for more junior. There's so many things that are out of your control in your process that it's kind of unfortunate, because as a candidate, you don't really get to understand that and experience that from the back end. You may just see a rejection email and really not have any context to it. And I get that really sucks. But I guess that the biggest thing I can tell you is to just understand, just keep applying, be conscious of it, like Max is saying, but also understand that a lot of it probably maybe has nothing necessarily even do with you. So please don't get discouraged. Please keep applying, but obviously be conscious of it. Maybe there's a trend to the roles that you're getting rejected to. And so if you want to maybe focus on a different side, but again, experience with the company always helps, but it's not always a guarantee. So definitely keep applying, but just know that sometimes it's not always you. There's more to it sometimes.
And it goes back to just the summary too. I mean, summarizing your experience in your resume maybe just needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. If you can bring out, if it's a Java type role, maybe if you've had more experience in Java, you can kind of lend to that as opposed to having your resume feel a different way. That's the biggest thing. Okay.
So since we have another expert, Heather, who joined us from the world of early talent, I guess this next question that it's going to be a interesting conversation. So somebody asked, I'm a recent graduate and had trouble finding a full-time position due to lack of internship experience. So experts, any suggestions?
Yeah, so I mean, not everyone we hire does have industry experience, and that is definitely okay. I would say whenever possible, just make sure to highlight some of your personal projects. If you've got a GitHub or any sort of group work that was really successful in your schooling, just highlight it, add links at the top or embedded in your resume. Just any sort of hobby programming that you do on the side can definitely help. If you're volunteering anywhere or continuing your education, I think all of that is just really helpful. And then just definitely highlight the skills that you do have related to the role. So if you're a really strong Java programmer and that's what we're looking for, just make sure that it's easy for us to find that on your resume too. And we'll probably give you a shot.
A quick add to that is that I would definitely say a lot of graduates, they think because they're a graduate, they automatically have to get a full-time role. And if you're struggling, just don't limit yourself. I mean, you never know what you might get from an internship out of college. A lot of us have probably had internships as well as contract gigs, we took because of a need or because of timing or whatever it may be. So I would just recommend that you consider both. And not just limit yourself to full-time jobs and then possibly end up with no job. So you can actually gain a lot and get a foot in the door, and then also give that company some, view into what you're capable of. And even if you don't end up converting with that company, in the process, you're still gaining that experience that you may not have had the opportunity to get during university that could be beneficial to you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and if you can't land an internship or contract, like Serena mentioned, there's always volunteer opportunities that I've seen through universities as well, where their companies are just looking for somebody to come in and do a project. So that could also add to your resume as well.
Thank you. And see, like I said, this question going to have a lot of answers because we have experts in house. Max, I guess we gotta start doing, we gotta start moving to early talent recruiting a little bit more, so we can start adding some value here when the question's gonna start popping up, right? Hey, so not forgetting the fact that Amir is still with us. And few of our viewers, Amir has been asking about, since you come, like you are from the industry cloud here at SAP, the questions are coming out like, cloud computing examples, like understand what is S4HANA. I know it's a massive, like, it's not something that can be answered in next 2 minutes, but if you can give the person just a 30-foot, like, level idea about how that works, that will be really awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, when we're talking about cloud, we're talking about having your resources and services and applications on the internet, so it can be shared, and and it can be scaled and used as a service. When you put your application in the cloud, then you don't call them applications anymore. You call them services, because that's what they are. You're providing a service to your users, customers per se. And the difference is that you do not host the data in your local servers, or have to, when your users increase, then have to, for example, buy another physical server. So the advantage of using the cloud is that you can scale them, horizontally, and you can scale them automatically as the usage goes up. So those burdens will be taken away from you having to just continuously going and purchase hardware. So the hardware, the management of the hardware, these all will be up on the providers, the cloud provider responsibility. That's very high level explanation and difference between the cloud computing and the local server. And as for S4HANA, HANA is an in-memory database. That what that means is, instead of using physical hard drives, you're using memory, which are much faster than the hard drive as your database and the data that our customers, ERP customers, are using. So that's HANA. And then S4HANA is the ERP application based on HANA that uses the in-memory management. So again, that's a very high-level explanation of what S4HANA is.
Thank you, Amir, and I'm hoping that you're enjoying our conversation as well. So our next question, which is, I thought it's an interesting one. So is like, do we actually, as recruiters, we actually go out, do passive hunting of the candidates, or we just kind of wait to search our database and see if we can find a candidate from there, or just wait for the candidates to apply to the positions? And I think this is going to be an interesting subject, because we from a recruiting perspective, but at the same time, I know Amir is right now is in the middle of action of building a massive team down there in Newport Beach. So I'm sure everybody will have a perspective to this. I think I can kick it off by saying that I kind of like to do both, but don't forget that, being part of a large enterprise, we do get a lot of applications, but at the same time, that does not mean that we're going to have application for everything that we are hiring at that moment, because a lot of time we have a skill set, which is, or I should say, positions that are not just straightforward. We need multiple skill sets. Sometimes we need looking for something very specific. And in those occasions, yes, we do go out. We go out looking for candidates wherever they might be, right? I've extensively been part of recruiting candidates, reaching out to passive candidates on LinkedIn's, various different job boards. And, I come from an engineering background, so I actually have tried to find candidates in GitHub, because that's where a lot of engineers hang out, right? But at the same time, we have been into job fairs. That might be at the college level, or that might be something very specific industry level, right? because one thing that I always think, that being part of a talent acquisition team, you are always expanding that network, right? And so subconsciously, I'm in a place where when I'm talking to people, I'm thinking, one side of my brain is just processing, hey, can I hire this person at some point in time for one of the roles that am I going to open in future, right? So that just me. What's your guys' take on that?
I agree. I'm nodding the whole time that you're talking. It has to be a balance of both. I think we as recruiters do a lot of work externally at these fairs or hackathons or events that we're constantly, at, to kind of increase our network, to be able to post a job to our network, and hopefully the right person will apply. But that's really only one way. If I wasn't going after candidates who I potentially searched on LinkedIn or met at these events and maybe approached them. Maybe they were not ready to leave their company, but after talking to me and hearing about this awesome opportunity, I was able to maybe entice them to, then we might not be able to fill as many positions as we are. So I think it definitely has to be a little bit of both. And I love being able to be that matchmaker where you meet somebody and then you're like, I know I have a great role for you, or if something comes up, I will definitely contact you and make that connection. So that's just my thoughts.
Amir,
Yeah.
what's your thought while working with, I'd say, Carl from our team, right? Hey,
Yeah,
Carl, I'm sure you're listening in.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, my expectation is the same and thoughts, as mentioned, using different tools and avenues to look for candidates such as the ones you mentioned, career days in colleges and universities. We do that actually. We have close relationship with UCI in Irvine here, and that. We go and look at the senior students, recent graduates and all that. And internship, of course, is open for us. But we also search like in LinkedIn and look at the list of current employees of other companies, sort of going poaching them and stealing from the companies. Do a direct contact. Hey, these are the people, for example, working at so and so company, and then we'll just send them a email. Hey, we have these positions available, whether you're interested or not. So yeah, we use a lot of different ways, different avenues to get candidates in.
So,
Yeah.
Amir, thank you so much. And putting you back on the spot just one more time, right? And I was just thinking that you came from Amazon, and when I'm sure there's a lot of engineers out there, when you talk about cloud, it's
Mhm.
automatically AWS, right?
Right.
So for them, it's like, because they live in it, they work on it so much. A lot of engineers here, even at SAP, we use AWS and Azure and like all public clouds, but right. And now you are leading a team on industry cloud.
Mhm.
So experience, good, bad, ugly. If you have something that you kind of would like to share with us and everybody else who might be tuning in, just to give them a little bit different perspective, right? Like it's sometimes it's just a name, but when they hear from somebody who's being part of that, it's kind of,
Mhm.
and then it kind of becomes a little bit more relatable from that perspective.
Yeah, when you're talking about cloud providers, of course, AWS is, has the majority of the market share in that area. But you have to look at the use cases and use scenarios that you want, that cloud provider for. There are basically, two different kinds of services that are provided. One is the infrastructure and the other one is the platform. And a lot of people might not know that, AWS, with all the features and everything, that they provide, they're actually not number one in the providing the platform. They are very good in providing the infrastructure, and they have the majority of the market share in there. But if that's not what you want, if you don't want to deal with management of the instances and you want to go beyond that, you want to leave that as the responsibility of the cloud provider, then you might want to go for platform. And with platform, then you see that Azure might actually be a better choice, or even Salesforce. Salesforce has I think for a long while was number one leading cloud platform provider. So it all depends on what kind of the service you want to get out, and then you have to decide which one goes better for your situation. In one situation, for example, ours, you're dealing with customers that might actually be competitor to Amazon, and then they can dictate to you, okay, you know what, I don't want you to use Amazon as your, to put my, data in there. So then you have to go and look into others like Google Cloud Platform or Azure and things like that. So it all depends on, your use case, your scenario, and what level of service you want to get. But in terms of, infrastructure as, as a service, then that's, AWS is the number one provider.
Good. And thank you. So, the next question, I've been getting this quite a bit, like, we saw a few questions coming online, then even somebody reached out to as early as this morning on LinkedIn, right? And since I have the early talent experts, right? So what are different early talent programs that you can just name, so everybody can just keep an eye on them. They can go to SAP website, they can look for them. So when I know that the time when they start is pretty much different. So at least I think at least once folks will have the names, they can do some more research about them. So how about Heather, our early talent expert from Waterloo?
Sure. So I'll start with the one that I've had the privilege of helping out with a bit over the last couple of years, which is SVNT. So it's our Silicon Valley Next Talent program. And it's a rotational program. You're hired in full-time, and then you get to do, I think it's 3 rotations in different areas. And then at the end, you land, a permanent home within SAP. So that program, I believe it starts twice a year. I think they are still looking for 2020 grads as well as 2021 grads. So if you just typed in SVNT SAP, it'll take you right to our landing page where you can apply and find out a little bit more information about it. But a really awesome program.
I know there outside of tech, there's the Sales Academy program as well, which is really great and does a lot of rotation. And I think they might rotate into some tech roles. But also don't forget about the IXP program. So if you're an intern and want to do an internship with us in the IXP program, that could lead to a full-time or a rotation role as well.
Max, it looks like you have a question for us.
Yeah. So this one's for Amir, actually. I kind of want to ask you here. Obviously, you're part of building a huge team over in Newport Beach. And besides the beautiful office space, I don't know if everybody is aware of, but Google SAP Newport Beach, and you'll be able to see the beautiful new office space. But obviously being tasked with building a huge new team, what sort of, and obviously you're kind of joining us new here this year, and what sort of, I guess, the selling point for you with your candidates that you're bringing in, obviously besides the beautiful waterfront property we have, and obviously getting the chance to work with a new team, but what sort of sets your group apart, or what sort of, like, outside of just the technical details and such, what's the main selling point for you with new candidates?
Well, the fact that we are a brand new team, working like a startup, that excites a lot of people to know that they're not coming into a very, structured environment. And, their hands are free, to provide innovation and come up with ideas, and their ideas will be, very well welcomed. And the fact that also they will be able to provide recommendations on using the new technologies, that we haven't worked on yet, and we can take a look at those and be able to work on the state of the art, the latest technologies such as microservices, Kubernetes, and all that. These are stuff that every developer is looking forward, to, rather than coming in and do a maintenance development on an existing product and services. So those are our very high selling points. Yeah.
Awesome. I hope Carl's taking notes.
Yeah,
He should be tuning in. No, I think
This
it's good to know, because I think obviously with the security hiring we're doing right now, and obviously this year has been a very different year for recruiting. Obviously having these groups that we're building from scratch and really kind of building up and making sure that people know that they are going to be coming to something new. It's maybe, in some aspects maybe the Wild West, but in some aspects it's good. Maybe somebody who's been in a maintenance project, who's been kind of just churning and burning the last year or so, they're going to have more say in kind of what sort of technologies you're going to use going forward, and really have that sort of startup mindset is huge for, obviously, people who have SAP in mind. We've been around for forever. It's a lot of legacy teams, that there are other other spots they can kind of come in and really have their say and make a big impact.
And as you said, the picture and the image of the bay and the boats,
It's too good.
has a lot to do as well.
Yeah. So the interesting part is that I saw that office coming up when I think it used to be a bank. So, and I started hiring the first engineering team there for ICN, and we used to go down there to that office, and it was like, it was very interesting to see how, we kind of was like, it was like so surreal that, as the building was coming up, we are hiring more and more engineers, right? So kind of like two things happening parallel, and with all those products coming out from ICN now, Industry Cloud, I think it's super exciting to see from everybody's perspective, not just us who work at SAP, but a lot of folks out there who follow SAP, even some of our competitors, right? So because this is something very different, and from that perspective, so moving on, right? Like we are always I know we are coming to almost the end of our show, and we have to, it's kind of like a bittersweet moment where we have to say bye to Agnes. And I can say that, like, she's been like a really important part of our show. I know when we started this, she kind of took a leap of faith with us, see how where it goes, like, right? I know it's easy for myself, for us to justify that, hey, I'm going to do it, but like try to convince somebody, hey, don't worry, just join me for this ride. It's going to be fun one, right? So it was, yeah, it is kind of like, yeah, but we're gonna wait for you. So I said, told you before too, that, your place will be yours. So whenever you're ready, you come back, and I'm pretty sure Serena and Max kind of feels the same. Hey, but if you guys feel anything different, that's fine. It's okay, Agnes, you can leave. It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Thanks so much, Vic. I think it's important to just quickly say that for those of you who are going on mat leave, and however long you're going for, according to your country policies, just take that time. And I think I'm going to miss you guys, but I'll be back next year, so it's not too long, and I'll continue to join these from the other side, and maybe I'll ask a question next time. And maybe I'll join you back sooner than you think. So thank you so much, Heather, for taking over for now.
And here we are, Max, handing over to you.
Yep. So again, Amir, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate the insight from your side, and it's super helpful when we're thinking of candidates and what they know, what they don't know, and especially these big projects we're kind of working on. So really appreciate the stuff there. Our socials, like you saw there. Our next little show is going to be 9/8. So September 8th, I think it's going to be another Tuesday, I believe. Not looking at my calendar, but
Yes.
yeah. So just obviously get us your questions. Let us know what you want to know and how we can address it. If there's ideas you have, if you want us to look through, a resume or stuff like that, anything we need to do from our side is going to help you guys at the end of the day. Feel free to ask us on LinkedIn and reach out to us and let us know.
Yes, and just to add to what Max said, right? So this AMA is not just for us; it's for everybody. And from you as an audience, if you like, you want to hear from somebody, right? It doesn't matter. Like we said, like we try to bring our guests. Like we requested Ahmed to join us. We're gonna have somebody else coming in next time. But if you have a preference, you want to talk to somebody, I see we getting a lot of question about SAP Sales Academy. So you never know. So thank you for giving us all those pointers. But just reach out. We are always Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Like every show, we always promise that we will respond back to you. It might not be just the very moment that because we do get bogged down with a lot of messages when they come through. But we'll be more than happy to answer anybody's questions that you might have. And hey, feel free to reach out to Amir. He's hiring. He's hiring in Newport Beach, and especially if you have a yacht, you have a paddle boat, or you have any boat, or you like swimming, you need to be part of that office. So thank
Vic
you.
was
I
Vic was
appreciate
recruiting on his
every.
houseboat for a couple months there.
Yeah. And yeah, so thank you. I appreciate everybody joining us for the AMA today. Thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, Bruins.
Bye.